Today we will be talking about the Spencer repeating rifle. Joining me is Thomas Rankin and Jordan Petrina. My name is Joshua.n.Parker, and we are your hosts for today. The Spencer repeater was a Civil War era repeating rifle that was originally $40. It had an effective range of 500 yards, and it was built and designed by Christopher Spencer. Christopher Spencer was a novelty inventor and invented many things. New Haven's arm company, that had been owned by Mr. Smith & Wesson, had been bought out by Oliver Winchester in 1857. Lincoln tested the rifle in 1861. He liked the rifle enough that he wanted the Army to use it. General James Ripley, however, who was the chief of Army procurement or ordnance, he did not like the rifles, and he called them newfangled grimcracks. He was in charge of ordering the rifles, but he refused, effectively stopping all soldiers from getting it. The Navy, however, was out of General Ripley's reach, and they got Spencer repeaters to use. Then they gave some of these to the Army to use, and so therefore some of the soldiers got some, but however other soldiers did not.
How to load the Spencer repeater. First, you would take out the tubular magazine and insert your 7 bullets or less, depending on how many you would like. Then you would insert the tubular magazine back into the buttstock of the Spencer repeater. Then, after you've inserted the tubular magazine into the gun, you would pull back the lever on the gun, and then that would put a bullet into the chamber of your Spencer repeater. Then you'd pull back the hammer of the gun, which is also the safety, and then you'll be ready to fire.
This is a picture of where the tubular magazine would be placed into the buttstock so it could go into the chamber and fired. This is a picture of the tubular magazine itself while in the gun. Here is where the tubular magazines would be carried in for use. This is another picture of the magazine carrier and could hold many magazines for lots of ammo. Here are the bullets that the Spencer repeater used when firing. The Spencer repeater used a rimfire .52 caliber bullet that was encased like the bullets today so that it could be reloaded very quickly. The bullet that the Spencer repeater used was rifled, so that it was very accurate, and also it was very easy to use for soldiers. This meant that they could fire vast amounts of rounds in a very short amount of time. The mini-ball was used by many other rifles of the day and was accurate just like the Spencer repeater, but it took a long time to reload because of all the components were separate. The
ball was much like the musket ball in that it was separate components, but the musket ball was not rifled, and therefore it isn't very accurate.
This is a photo of what all the soldiers would be given when given the rifle. They would be given a bayonet, the gun itself, extra magazines, a magazine holder, and lots of ammo. Soldiers loved the new rifle. They loved how it shot fast and was very accurate. They loved it. Most soldiers and the cavalry loved the rifle even more because it was lightweight and could fire lots of times without having to stop and reload. This is why many cavalry commanders gave their soldiers Spencer repeaters out of their own bank account. Ulysses S. Grant even said that the Spencer repeater was the best breech-loading arms available. Colonel John T. Wilder of Indiana, who is an inventor, one day saw a field test of the Spencer repeater. No line of men who come within 50 yards of another armed with the Spencer repeating rifle can either get away alive or reach them with a charge, as in either case they are certain to be destroyed by terrible fire poured into the ranks by cool men thus armed. Men feel as if it is impossible to be whipped. In July 1864, Major General Lovell Rousseau was attacking East Alabama, destroying everything in his path. Nearby was the all-male College of Alabama. The Alabama Corps of Cadets was at the university. 54 cadets answered the call for soldiers and went off with the regular Confederate soldiers for a total count of 500. These soldiers mostly were using muzzle-loading rifles or smooth-bore musket rounds. They were transported to the Chehaw Station. The Union soldiers that they met were using the Spencer repeater. The Confederates took 80 casualties, 40 of those being deaths, and the Union took 5 casualties with only 3 deaths. John Hay was Lincoln's personal secretary and wrote about Lincoln's test firing of the Spencer repeater. This evening and yesterday evening, an hour was spent by the president shooting with Spencer's new repeating rifle. A wonderful gun, loading with simplicity and ease, and firing the whole readily and deliberately in less than half a minute. The president made some pretty good shots. Spencer, the inventor, a quiet little Yankee, did some splendid shooting. Christopher Spencer himself wrote, on August 17th, 1863, I arrived at the White House with the rifle in hand and was immediately ushered into the executive room where I found the president alone. After a brief introduction, I took the rifle from its cloth case and handed it to him, examining it carefully and handling it as one familiar with firearms. Mr. Lincoln requested me to take it apart and show the inwardness of the thing. The separate parts were soon laid on the table before him. It was the simplicity of the gun which appealed to President Lincoln, and he was greatly impressed with the fact that all that was needed to take it apart was a screwdriver. With this implement, he bared the vitals of the gun and replaced them so that the gun would be ready to fire in a few minutes. Christopher Spencer.